Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Idahoan Show. You've no doubt heard about the infamous pistol braces or arm braces that everyone seems to be putting on AR-15 pistols nowadays. The question that I'd like to answer in this video is, do they actually work? Does strapping the back end of an AR-15 pistol to your arm actually increase the practical accuracy of the gun? Now, I've done a number of tests in the past comparing the practical accuracy of different firearms, but one thing that I haven't tested yet is an AR-15 pistol. So to start with, I think we need to establish a baseline just by doing some shooting with an AR-15 pistol like this that just has a naked buffer tube, without any kind of an arm brace installed. Now, there could be some question as to just how am I supposed to hold an AR-15 pistol? And certainly my stance and its rigidity or lack thereof is going to influence my practical accuracy. So I think I want to try a couple of different things. For one thing, there's kind of some funny wording in the legal definition of a handgun to the effect that it's designed for or capable of being operated with one hand. And so I think first off, we need to try shooting at least a few rounds one-handed at full extension just to demonstrate that this does in fact meet the technical legal definition of a handgun. Okay, so shooting one-handed, I only fired 5 shots, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes in the target. So I was able to keep all 5 shots on an 8 by 11 inch target at 25 yards, which is not great accuracy. I mean, I've got about a 10-inch group, or that would equate to about 40 minutes of angle spread, but this would be combat effective. I mean, this piece of paper is about the size or a little smaller than the torso area of a threatening attacker, and most dynamic critical incidents unfold at ranges considerably closer than 25 yards. So I think we've demonstrated that this is a pistol and it can be used effectively one hand. And in fact, I think this level of accuracy is not too much different from what I would expect out of something like a diminutive pocket pistol. But of course, in reality, nobody actually shoots a handgun one-handed anymore. So then I think we need to shoot a group using, sort of a thumbs forward grip like I would typically use on any other automatic handgun. Okay, so apparently the muzzle blast from my first shot jostled the camera just enough that one of the battery contacts lost contact, the camera lost power, so it quit recording, and I didn't notice until after I'd finished shooting the group and went back to look at the camera. But you can see that going from a one-handed dueling position to a thumbs forward two-handed grip tightened up my group considerably here. Now, my standard measure of practical accuracy is that I'll fire a 10-shot group and then throw out one outlier and divide by the range so I get the 90% dispersion angle in minutes of angle. In this case, the group is so uniform, I don't think it really matters which shot we choose as our outlier. Probably this one or maybe that one. Either way, if we're only letting ourselves throw out one, then we're left with about a 3.5 to 4 inch group at 25 yards, or a little bit better than a 16 MOA group, which is actually as good or better than I would expect to do shooting any other handgun with the same stance. And then finally, as big as this is and as far forward as the center of gravity is, it actually seems more intuitive to me to hold it like this, somewhat like an AR-15 carbine, even though it's not a carbine or a rifle. You know, the buffer tube is too short, of course, to comfortably pull into my shoulder and use as a stock, but I think I still want to try shooting it with my hands in this position, even though the buffer tube's just kind of floating out in front of me. Okay, looks like the camera's still recording. Okay, with my alternate two-handed position, group size isn't too much different from the thumbs forward position, but it is a little bit tighter. If we throw out one of those outliers, either that one or that one, either way that gets us down to about a 3-inch group at 25 yards, or a 90% dispersion angle of about 12 MOA. Okay, so our baseline practical accuracy with an AR-15 pistol that doesn't have a brace or any other stabilizing features on it was a 90% dispersion angle of about 12 minutes of angle, or about a 3-inch group at 25 yards. That's actually quite a bit better than what I was expecting. I was expecting that trying to shoot a large, unwieldy pistol like this would be more difficult than shooting a regular-sized pistol, and so I was expecting my practical accuracy with this to be a little bit worse than with, other smaller pistols. But in fact, the opposite proved true. I was able to shoot this somewhat more accurately than I can typically shoot a smaller pistol under the same circumstances. Now, I realize that to some people, a pistol brace is just a loophole in the law that allows you to put a stock on an AR-15 pistol and get something that's functionally an SBR without having to register it as an SBR. But I'm not going to test or explore that dimension of pistol braces today, both because of the potential legal issues involved in that, and also because I've already done practical accuracy testing with AR-15 rifles, and I don't think that a couple inches of barrel length is going to make much difference there. So we already know that, shooting an AR-15 rifle with a red dot sight, from a standing offhand position, I can shoot a little bit better than a 10-minute of angle group, again using the 90% dispersion angle as our measure of practical accuracy. What I want to test today is the effect of bracing the buffer tube on my arm as pistol braces are ostensibly intended to be used. Now, cheapskate that I am, I didn't go out and buy a commercial pistol brace for this test. Instead, I just 3D printed this little bracket that clips onto the buffer tube and rests against my arm, and then as a temporary measure, I'm just going to secure this to my arm with duct tape. Obviously, this is not going to be as comfortable or convenient as a commercial brace for extended or repeated use, but for this test, I think it should provide the same mechanical constraint and therefore should have about the same effect on practical accuracy. Now I got to figure out how to hold this thing with the brace installed. I was thinking I could just use a two-handed position, similar to what was most accurate without the brace. But now that I've got this thing strapped to my arm, trying to hold the gun like this is really awkward. I have to go sort of semi-gangster style to make that, anything akin to comfortable, and this does not feel very stable. So I think I'm going to ditch that idea. I could certainly do some one-handed shooting with the brace, and then maybe for maximum accuracy, I think I can try a position sort of like this. Okay, so for one-handed shooting, we went from a 10-inch group without the brace to about a 3.5-inch group with the brace. Okay, so I'm afraid we had technical difficulties again there. The camera conked out on me before I finished shooting the 10-shot string there. And actually, in the middle of the string, we had a failure to feed, which illustrated sort of a side effect of braces, namely that it's really difficult, or at least it adds a new dimension of challenge to troubleshooting a malfunction when your arm is duct taped to the gun. So, there definitely are some disadvantages to this configuration just in terms of general maneuverability. But that said, let me get this thing off of my arm, and then we'll go down range and see if it helped my accuracy at all. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what I was expecting here, but it definitely wasn't this. Out of our 10-shot group, even if we throw out one outlier, whether we pick that one, or that one, we're still left with about a 5-inch group at 25 yards, or a 90% dispersion angle of about 20 minutes of angle. Meaning I actually shot worse trying to use the brace in a two-handed stable position than I did when I was just shooting it one-handed. Okay, so I think there's two conclusions that we can draw pretty decisively from this test. One is that if you're missing an arm or, otherwise disabled such that you're compelled to shoot one-handed, then a pistol brace will absolutely help you to shoot an AR-15 pistol more accurately by about a factor of 3. So I feel like we've sort of vindicated the advertising claims of a lot of these brace manufacturers, who've always marketed these as not exactly a prosthetic, but sort of a shooting aid to disabled veterans and so forth. The second conclusion we can draw is that if you have two good hands, then a brace is probably counterproductive because it makes shooting the gun with two hands more awkward and thus less accurate, to say nothing of complicating clearing malfunctions or other general handling procedures. Anyway, I feel like this test definitely gave me a better perspective on AR pistol braces. Hopefully I've been able to pass on some of that to you as well. And until next time, thank you for watching The Idahoan Show.